I would like to call this meeting of the Board of Selectmen to order. Can I have an acceptance of the agenda?
Second?
Second by Mr. Vignani. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Do we have any walk-ins this evening? Seeing none, we'll move on to the report of the Town Administrator. Tricia?
Thank you. I have a rather lengthy report tonight, so I'll get to it. First of all, Lorraine's included on the desk a cover letter that introduces the coastal zone management plan that we have, that was done by Applied Coastal by John Ramsey. It's going to be going up on the website. My thanks to Maura, who drafted this for us as sort of an introduction to the report. The report is only available on the website. We've had inquiries for the report. It is very expensive because of all the color maps, in excess of $500 just for 10 copies. So we're just making it available on the website. And we hope to have it up tomorrow, but we have to do some special things even to get it up on the website. But that's where people will refer it, so all the residents can use it as a living document and refer to it. And they have this nice summary that was prepared. So I just want the other board members aware of that and know that that's going up. There was a wonderful Veterans Luncheon and an observance of Veterans Day on Friday that was organized by the veterans in town, local veterans in town. Chairman O'Toole, I know you were there, so I'll let you give the update, because I'm sure you can summarize it better than I can.
Yeah, it was excellent. Actually, there wasn't an empty seat in the place. As usual, last year was the same. They did a special tribute to a woman, I can't remember her first name. You might know her, Tricia. Last name is Gillis. She was 100 years old this summer. She's the oldest veteran in Scituate anyway, so.
Yeah.
But it was excellent. It was very well done, nicely done by the Legion and Ed Covell. Jim Cantwell showed up, and the newly elected Joe Moschino showed up. And it was good. It was a really nice time for the veterans, and they enjoyed it. The weather was perfect. We were outside doing the flag ceremony, and it was a nice time. So.
Great. The Water Drought Task Force met today, every Tuesday. There'll be an extensive update going out tomorrow once Mr. Banger prepares it, but for those who follow the height of our reservoir, right now it's 40.7% full. And this is a gain of 0.25 inches since yesterday. More rain today means the brooks and tributaries and the groundwater will absorb, and that'll eventually make its way to the reservoir. Lots of folks are seeing the reservoir fill up, and I think they think we're out of the woods. That we talked about that at length today. The reservoir was at 71% full this time last year. So if we have a mild winter in terms of snowpack and snow melt, we still have to continue our conservation efforts. We discussed the bans, and those are still in effect. In 2 weeks, there's a threshold at 49% that we'll be looking at for bans, but right now, we still are asking people to continue what they're doing and conserving. It is making a difference. Some members may be aware that the town was recognized by the Mass Water Resources Commission last Thursday in Boston. We were the model community, along with Sudbury, on everything we've implemented to advise residents about the drought and also our residents conserving. So kudos to the town on that. That report, actually, in that presentation, will be a link, I believe, or in a PDF when the water system update goes up on our website. So lots of good information to that. I do want to recognize the people on the Drought Task Force, because we've been meeting pretty regularly for a couple of months now, along with Kevin Cappity, Al Bangert, who chairs it, Chief Stewart, Chief Murphy, Deputy Al Elliott, Jennifer Keith, our Board of Health Director, and I'm sure I'm forgetting someone. But we also are very fortunate that every week we get a very detailed forecast from Tim Kelly, who's a member in abstention of the task force, and that'll be part of the system update. And the one that we got today says, you know, we're going to have a period of some dryness, but then it's going to get wet again. He can do a long-range 30-day forecast for us, so he's hopeful that we'll continue to get some rain and our reservoir will continue to increase, but I want to thank him for taking the time to do a detailed email to Al every week so that we can include that.
I'm glad you added that, because that was my question, what his forecast was.
Yeah,
Okay, good.
yeah, I can give you the whole skinny on it, but I didn't want to do it. We, as you know, are pursuing a sister city relationship with the County of Cork in Ireland. They are anticipating coming here to Boston and want to visit Scituate and hopefully ink our deal. And they are proposing the afternoon of December 8th. They have a very small window, so I wanted to put that before the board. I think that's the best time that works for their schedule. And if the board has, I would like to communicate that officially to them tomorrow. I've been sitting on the email since I received it yesterday from, it would be the mayor.
Time?
What day of the week?
Probably in the afternoon. It's a
Wednesday, isn't it?
It's
a
Thursday, I
Is it a
think,
It's a
because we
Thursday.
have a meeting.
It's a Thursday. You have a December 6th
Okay.
Selectmen's meeting. So it'll be a Thursday afternoon. The mayor would attend, as well as my counterpart, the county executive. So it should be an exciting event, so.
Do you know what time?
No, those details have to be worked out, but I assume they're in Boston and have a number of engagements and would travel here. We asked if they would have a day so we could show them the town or whatever, but I think it would be very similar to the Susie Umbry signing that we had at the Maritime Center with some refreshments and remarks. And then if they have time, we'll get a van from Gatra if they have more people in their entourage and show them the town, so.
Yeah, we'd love to have them come here because they suggested that we could also go to the consul office in Boston, but I said it'd be nice if
No,
they
no,
could
we
come
want them to
Yeah,
come to Scituate.
absolutely.
We want them to come. And I guess, just, it segues really quickly, I guess I hadn't thought of this, Marty, into the film Saturday night.
Yes, yeah, so they had the film of the Easter Rising, and the Irish Consul General came, kind of a last-minute deal. We found out at 4 o'clock on Thursday, and her name's Fanula Quinlan. She was excellent, and she gave like a little rundown of the Easter Rising and all of that, and then a lot of people showed up at St. Mary's. That pretty much sold out as well, so, yeah.
The next order of business is I wanted to do the public facilities update. The library, as of this date, is 66% completed, and I think the public safety building is 65, 70?
Yeah, I'd say so.
So the projects still continue, obviously by the weather, and things are going along. The other thing, though, that we haven't talked about a while, because we're focusing on the new buildings, is I do want to give the board an update on the next steps after the Adaptive Building Reuse Committee gave its report to the board. And as you remember, we discussed this at some board meetings and the retreat about what to do with the recommendations in that report. And although we haven't discussed it at a meeting for a while, there's a number of things going on in a few different fronts. One, as you remember, the board asked that, approved 2 appraisals being done, one on the present Council on Aging on Brook Street and one on the Gates School. Those appraisals, we hired an appraisal, and those appraisals came in. The Brook Street appraisal came in at $285,000, and the Gates appraisal came in at $2.845 million. And the interesting thing about this is they're almost spot on from the estimated quotes that were given to the board by the Adaptive Reuse Committee without a formal appraisal. So they're pretty much what we expected.
So that's the building and all the land that it sits on?
That is the building.
Just the building?
That is the building.
Gotcha.
There's 16 acres there. So the other thing, one of the suggestions of Chairman O'Toole was to see if the building was a candidate for turning it, retrofitting it into affordable housing. And we had the names of 2 firms to come and look at the building. We were not successful in getting them to bite and want to come out. We, at Marty's suggestion, reached out to Joe Armstrong, who's been working with the Housing Authority. He walked the building last Friday with Kevin Kelly. He thought the building had good possibility for some adaptive housing if the board was so inclined to move that way. The last thing was, which the board approved that we move forward in, was to get some additional feasibility studies in the sites for the Council on Aging. And so we issued an RFP last Friday that will look at the original site that was proposed to the town back in 2007 for that building, the land that was presented to the board behind Gates School as a standalone Council on Aging, the Purple Dinosaur Park, which we had previously looked at for the Public Safety Building, and the Housing Authority is amenable to some sort of land swap if it should ever go that way on the property they own at Kent Street. So the Kent Street property is going to be included in that feasibility study. The Kent Street site has already had extensive soil testing done, and the Housing Authority, Steve Coulter, has provided that to us. So as you remember, Durkee Brown advised to have some soil, what was presented to you didn't have soil information. And there's also still, back then when the Council on Aging proposal on Branch Street was originally proposed, there were a lot of issues around site development and soil testing. So the RFP requires detailed soil testing for both that site and the Gates School site. And Purple Dinosaur Park, we already have some feasibility information from Doran Whittier's study for the feasibility for the public safety building. So that has taken a little longer to get out than we wanted, but the drought has sort of subsumed us for the last 2 months, so that's in progress now. Karen Pritchard's here, the chair of the Adaptive Building Committee, but I think, we're finally on backtrack and hope to have some stuff after the new year on that.
So there's only 3 sites that we're looking at?
4.
What was the fourth one? Go ahead.
Purple Dinosaur, Gates, Brooks, Branch Street, and Kent Street. I do want to mention that due to your office's efforts, we have almost full compliance with the folks taking the ethics test. We do have 5 individuals who have failed to respond after 3 notifications. So on your next meeting, I will have an agenda item as to how you want to address that. We've been dealing with this since May. Lorraine and Kathy Curran have done a great job. That's great compliance, but we still want to make sure the 5 folks who haven't taken the ethics test don't continue to serve for an indeterminate amount of time without taking it, so we can look at that. Finally, the last thing that I want to talk to you about is question 4. Our office, and your office perhaps, and lots of people in the community have a bunch of questions about what the legalization of marijuana means and how it affects Scituate specifically. So I just want to talk about it briefly. There's sort of 3 aspects to it. One is the ability to possess marijuana. The second is the ability to sell marijuana in communities. And the fourth is legal ramifications in terms of law enforcement as an employer in terms of employees working for the town. So the ballot question, it goes into effect December 15th. So you don't meet again to December 6th. So I want to at least give you some preliminary information. In terms of the law enforcement legal part of it, Chief Stewart is going to discuss that with you at a later meeting. He's working on some stuff that I'm sure chiefs have been working on statewide. But I want to just do this in a brief summary. The law would authorize folks 21 or over to possess up to 1 ounce of marijuana outside of their home and up to 10 ounces inside of their home. And they could also have at least 6 marijuana plants in their home. They could also give 1 ounce or less to another person 21 years of age without payment, so they could just exchange it. So that's the law would set up a Cannabis Control Commission. For all intents and purposes, it would act like the ABCC in terms of liquor licenses. But those rules and regulations have yet to be promulgated, and that rests with the Attorney General. So let's talk about the actual sale of the marijuana. We have already provided zoning for where we will allow marijuana sales to take place in the community. The cover memo I gave you from Laura Harbotto explains that a little bit. The new law will allow the retail sales to occur in January. So possession you can have December 15th, but retail sales would be, begin in 2018. Now, in town, where we've zoned it is the same, we zoned it for medical marijuana. It's in the commercial zoning district in the Driftway. This town voted 6,281 against and 5,680 in favor. So that's about 600, pretty much I could say fairly that residents of Scituate did not want to allow this to happen. There is a mechanism in the statute that a town, an individual community can vote by a referendum to prevent the sale, the retail sale of any marijuana. So that is something that you might want to have on an agenda item or discuss at some point later, but that is the remedy for it right now.
And would that referendum be at the next annual town meeting, or would it have to be done?
The board can
Sooner.
schedule an election anytime it votes one, but if you wait till the next general election, it would be
Must be
in
like a
May.
ballot? Okay.
Yes, it is a ballot election, a referendum. Now, just as of right, saying you just, okay, it's here to stay, we don't want to do a referendum or whatever, you're allowed to have one retail operation per 20% of licensed alcoholic stores in town, package stores in town. We have a total of 9 package stores in town. It's unclear, and I'm working on this. We have 4 alcoholic, which is 0.8%, and we have 5 wine and beer only. So 0.4 is less than 1. So that's a question as to even if you could allow retail. But if the beer and wine is included as part of those liquor license sales, then that gives us a total of 9, which 20% of that is 1.8. So that means 1 would be allowed in the community. And as terms of employer responsibilities, we have drug and alcohol policies in most of our collective bargaining agreements, but it will require us to do some bargaining. And I gave you some attachments on that. One of the challenges is there's no accepted standard test right now for determining marijuana intoxication. However, in terms of us operating right now and what happens December 15th, the same rules apply to our municipal employees as they would in terms of the policies we have for no smoking and no alcohol on your person or consumption. So those would still apply. The bigger questions as far as reasonable suspicion and termination or discipline, those are all yet to be settled, and we may see more once the regulations are promulgated. So I know that's a lot, but I hope it at least addressed some of your concerns. We're all scrambling to find out information, and I know Chief probably is too, but that's sort of where we are now, and I'll continue to keep you updated.
Sean just has a question.
Yep.
There's a million questions you can ask, but you just kind of touched on it. So, the people that work for our DPW that have CDLs and hoisting licenses, and this marijuana stays in your system for a period of time. They're allowed to do it on the weekend. They're not on call, they're not working, but they come in Monday morning and someone gets killed. It's gonna, pretty difficult to, enforce,
So one of the...
Tough situation.
One of the things now, 25% of the country allows some form of legalized use of marijuana. Federal law still has marijuana as being illegal. So one of the things is the conflicts between federal and state law. Your CDL is sort of, you follow the federal transportation guidelines. So any issues around marijuana right now are illegal because that's in a violation of federal law. But, private employers along with public employers are dealing with this issue as well. But those are some of the things that still have to be settled. What else do I have? The only other thing is just I updated, you haven't seen it in a while, the items pending. The list grows ever longer. Just to give you a snapshot of what the town departments and your office is dealing with. And that's, I think, and then the last thing I want to talk about is health insurance update. We have our first meeting with the Public Employee Committee You have the summary that Nancy and I wrote from the last Plymouth County meeting, Mayflower Municipal Health, about the track that's going, the very slow track. So at your meeting, December 6th, you will have a discussion and vote to withdraw. That allows us a window before December 31st if there's issues to your next meeting. And as I said, the 30-day negotiation period with the public employees began today. So they're two separate processes, but obviously we have a time clock just for the Mayflower piece, separate and unrelated to the Public Employee Committee, that's voting, meeting to ensure we have another provider. But if the prior meetings we've had in the Insurance Advisory Committee are any indication of how the PEC process will go, I think it will be very collaborative. So folks on the IAC who now constitute the Public Employee Committee have been really cooperative. So that's it.
I just have one quick question back to the marijuana for a second. So I'm hearing a couple of things. I'm hearing that if someone gets licensed in this town for the sale of marijuana, it also takes away from one of your liquor licenses. Is that correct? Number one. Number two, are they regulated? What are the hours for regulation? And then the third thing is, what do they do with all the money that they bring in? They're not allowed to put it into a bank, right?
All good questions, Marty, and I couldn't answer any of them with certainty. I didn't see anything in the research I did so far.
Could happen in January, it's...
January of 18.
Oh, 18. Oh, okay.
Yeah, January of 18.
I got you. Okay. A little bit of breathing room.
But you can, just December 15th, you can start using and growing your own, and I'm looking at the police chief here. So I guess one of my questions is, when are we going to put this on the agenda to talk about it again, to figure out how we want to proceed with, the zoning of this? I mean, you said that Scituate did pass this, or voted no against it, but it was 52-48, so it wasn't a landslide. So I think we're going to have some discussions in terms of how we want to contain it in the town. I don't know, Chief, did you have anything else to add on that, on the...
Mass Chiefs is coming out with some guidelines on it, and they're researching, they're kind of waiting for Governor Baker's administration to come up with, fine-tune some regulations. I think, within a month or two, as far as the sale of the consumer side of it, I think we'll have some answers. It'll be a good time to then sit down, we'll know more.
Okay. The other two things are, a couple meetings ago, we talked about changing the route for GATRA to go up.
Yes.
When is that actually happening?
I do not know. I will check.
Okay. And we also had a very productive meeting that night where we were going to change the wind turbines schedule as well. When does that go into effect?
The one in terms of shutting it off?
Is that next summer? Is that...
That pilot's been in effect, so it will go back on, I think, in May. Yeah, May to
So-
October. So that's already a fait accompli.
That's a done deal?
Yep.
It's going to start again in May? Great.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay. Move on to a discussion and vote of Class 2 license application for the Shell Station. David Phelan, the owner.
My son.
How are you?
Good, how are you today?
How you doing?
Good, how are you?
Good, thank you. Okay. So Class 2, I'm just trying to...
See it, honey?
Yeah.
What page is it, John?
10 of 86.
Yeah.
What this will do is so we can go to auction, sell used cars. That's what a Class 2 license is.
It allows you to buy and sell cars. We had a license there before. My partner passed away suddenly at 49 years old in May of 2014, and my 70-year-old brother took over running it. We were kind of dropped into it, and since then, the last 4 months, I've taken over running it.
Okay.
I've been in the business for 39 years. I run another station in Kingston. This is my son, David Phelan II. He's the manager, and he's pretty much been trained by me, and I don't know if you people have gone by the station in the last 3 or 4 months, but the image has picked up a lot. We have flowers out there, we're painted all the curbs, we tried to pressure wash, but you had a water ban. I didn't even call it in, the shell company called it down. We didn't even know they were coming to knock the mold off the shingles, because we're trying to pick up the image of the building. It did go down due to my partner passing away, and,
Okay.
you know, like I said, we did have a license. It became void because when he died, his briefcase, we were never returned any paperwork. So we've been spending quite a while trying to piece together everything that went on down there. Because my brother and I didn't really have much to do with the daily operation there, and now I pretty much run it with my son.
Okay.
I had one question, and I don't know if it's just a typo, but the insurance documents, and I went through to read it
I'm gonna I think
deeply.
I-
It says that
it's-
they expire 11/30/16.
What was that one?
Yeah, it's on the,
On the...
like, right on the top page.
Serenity Bond?
The one from the Department, one from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Department of Industrial Accidents.
I don't even have that.
Talking about your Berkshire Hathaway insurance. So I just don't know if the dates are correct.
I can find out. I know that we have valid, we talking workman's comp and garage keeper's liability?
What is this one?
So this
The
is,
DIA.
this is workers' comp, so your policy, you should have been contacted for your policy coming up for renewal. It's a one-year policy and expires the 30th of this month.
So you need a new certificate?
It's-
Yeah,
But it's
okay.
interesting because he signed it on the 2nd of this month, so I'm just, somebody may have just, I don't know. I think you need to check into that. That's all.
All right, I'll give him a call. I was the one that talked to the lady, so.
Yeah, that should be all
Workman's comp.
set. I have garage keepers and workman's
Probably
comp.
just up for renewal.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
mine
What's
mine
the-
automatically renews
Yeah.
on the same date.
Yeah, I'm surprised that it didn't automatically renew. It's not
Well,
there
it
that it
hasn't
is.
expired yet.
It
so-
hasn't expired, so you wouldn't have the new.
Yeah, I don't have the new certificate. I know that because we have to post that.
So you say here you're 6 used cars, 6 vehicles.
Yes.
What is that going to do to the property? What are your intentions?
I wanted to put 3, if you're looking at the property, 3 on the left-hand side, because they can park this way here. You have a, I had a sketch. If I find it here.
You have cars there now, right?
Yeah, a few cars.
Mostly customers' cars. But I have 60 feet from the last bay to the street itself. I was going to park 3 cars there, and over on the other side of the office, to the right of the office, I have 58 feet over there. I have another parking lot out back that's 45 by 20 behind the building that's tarred, paved.
Can I look at that?
Yeah, sure. It's kind of a picture by stick figure, but I think you need to get.
So are you going to keep the cars in the rear? Are you going to are you trying to show the cars so people come in?
Yeah, I have,
First class 2 license, that's all.
So these 3 and these 3?
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, he just
3
filled
over
it out.
here.
And these parking
Okay,
spots?
3 over here.
Just because he
yeah.
filled
Is that
that
the
out,
parking
that's,
spots
you
to
know,
the-
just happens to
Well, on
expire
Side Street,
in
well,
November
that's
every
just
year.
Side Street, for the cars for sale. I still have space over here for parked vehicles that are there for service, and I have the whole back area to park vehicles for service.
Okay.
Plus my bays, I have 3 bays.
David, was it 6 cars? Is that what you're looking for?
Yes.
So does a license allow you to
I
do?
can take less, you know what I mean? I think before, I'm not positive, but I think we had a 3-car. You know, 4. Even a 4 would be fine. I didn't know what the number
I
was.
just think 6 would be tight, because this is
Yeah.
pretty tight over there.
No, I agree,
especially-
and my son said the same thing before we came.
Yeah.
You know, 4,
I
even
think
a
4 would be
4-car.
reasonable. Because you've got overstock in the back if you needed to,
Yes,
right?
yeah, I have plenty of room out back. The lot goes way back, too.
So what's the intention is to go to the auctions, buy 3 or 4 cars, and then try and sell them out front?
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Fix them and then sell them.
Yes.
Put out a dependable car.
We buy private party too, you can buy, but to get into any of the auctions, you have to have a license.
Right.
You can't, they won't even talk to you, that you can't get in the door without one. And that's why, with the way the economy is, it's not the easiest business to be in right now as any business, people are, it's just an extra way that we can make a dollar to pay our mortgage and things like that. Like I said, this was all kind of dropped on me to a sad situation with my partner passing away.
Well, I'll accept a motion.
Well, hold on, Sean, what do you think?
I'm pretty familiar with the building. I spent all my high school days there, many nights, pumping gas. There's plenty of room for his cars. It makes sense that, he's not working out of his house where we have had him, and then our stipulation is that they don't store them at their house. It's just a way of getting, like David said, it's a way of getting into these auctions that they have different days of the week, at all different places. I don't see a problem with it at all. It's,
With Front Street, you think that's the place?
Well, no, if they keep them, I think, at different times, there might have been cars on the sidewalk. That was before you guys were probably involved. You owned it, your brothers owned it. And
Yeah.
that might have been an issue with, pedestrians going down the sidewalk, but I think someone
Yeah,
had asked you
I
just
don't
to
think
keep
you're going
them.
to see that happening anymore.
No, that's all.
I run a different business than my brother.
And so I think they can put them to the left of that third bay, and then they do have plenty of room out back. It's, they'd be off the street, off the side street, off Harbor Heights Road, and I don't think they're not gonna wanna block the line of sight if people are leaving from the gas pumps, they don't wanna cause accidents, so.
I'm not somebody that's going to have flags flying and cheap up your center of town. I wouldn't do that. That's why if you look at the way the station looks now, I think I've brought the image up tremendously. We were there in the Halloween, and a lot of people gave compliments to my son for what he's done since he's been there. My wife put her female touch on with flowers, corn stacks, and things like that. So it's not, I understand what you expect in the center of town, and I wouldn't do anything. And if by chance you felt that way, don't hesitate to come in and say something. My son's there every day. But I wouldn't do that to your town. You have a beautiful town center. And, we were here, like I said, with his son for Halloween, and it's a great thing. You have a lot of community involvement, which you don't see in other towns.
So I think I like the three on the spaces. Where would the fourth one go if we gave you 4 instead of 3?
Over by that side where I showed you?
Yeah.
Over to the right.
Yes, over to the right.
There's a lot of room
There's a lot of room over there.
between the Harbor Heights Road and the building, and then it actually.
I also have a big area right in back of my office. It's all tarred. That's 20 by 40 back
Right.
there for cars. It's not I don't really have a case of too many cars on the lot. I don't know if that's been the case. Like I said, I wasn't that involved up until about 3 months ago.
There was a lot of cars on the lot when I got there. I got there in the middle of the summer and I just kind of cleaned everything out.
We
got
had
the
a
junk out of
mechanic
there.
that was collecting cars, basically.
Yeah.
Everybody that came in, he was buying their car if they didn't want to fix it. He's no longer with me, so with that went all his junk cars, basically.
So what does the number actually mean? How many you can sell?
It's how many I can sell, how many I can display to sell.
At once, on the premises.
Yeah.
You can display that many, but you could have
Yes.
10 in the back working on them.
I could, yep. Yeah, I could have 10 customers' cars.
Yeah.
I could have
No,
2
I don't have any
customer
problem with that.
cars.
That was
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's actually one of the questions I had. You're a very busy station. That's where I bring the truck.
Yeah and no. My other station's a lot busier.
Okay. But,
You know what I mean? I have
any fear
basically
of
the
that
same
as far as-
yard.
No, not really, because we basically have it set up with 3 cars. I've been parking the customers' cars where we're gonna park the cars that we're gonna sell.
Right.
Just to see if we'd run into a problem with leaving the bays, and I do inspection stickers, pull them in and out all the time. And we haven't had any problems with 3 cars on the side and then the one over here where we were gonna display it. So, we haven't had any problem the past month that we've been parking the customers' cars there. There's been no accidents, there's been not even a close call, so.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind the 3 set back, I just don't like the one kind of set up on the road as much. I don't know what your guys' thoughts are on that.
Well, yeah. it
It's
wouldn't-
not
it
on the
wouldn't
road.
hope-
There's
yeah,
landscape in between there.
Yeah.
And your side road you're talking?
Front Street.
Yeah.
Yeah, we would set it
Looking at the
back.
station.
This is
on the left
this
side.
is sidewalk.
You
here,
said,
so-
you said the three
by
over on the left you didn't have a problem with.
Yeah.
Those are the ones closest to Front Street.
Maybe I mean
The
right
one
one.
car is over on the other side, and we have a 10-foot landscaped area along that side. It's not like it's right on that
You're
street
referring to the
either.
inspection bay side, so if you're looking at the station on the left side, right? Is that what you're
Yeah,
referring to? Yeah.
What they've been doing, what they did
Is that where they're
before,
putting 3 or 1?
One, 3 on the other side.
Right, I like
Plenty of
the
room
3
for
on the
one.
other side.
Yeah.
There's plenty of room for one over here, I think. I think it's fine.
I had 3 on
Like you said, if we don't like it.
that inspection side.
Right.
Because but the way they used to park the cars, I don't know how to describe it to you, like, this the curb, they were parking the cars long-wise. I'm going to park the cars sideways, and there's 60 feet there between there and the gas pumps. So that's gonna stop the cars from piling up onto the sidewalk in that area. I don't know if that was the problem that you people had before, I don't know. Like I said, I didn't have much to do with this station before this. Now I do.
Well, we'll see how it works, and if there's a
Yeah.
problem, we'll talk
Yeah,
about it.
yeah, no problem at all.
Okay, we're just gonna
Make a motion for 4?
motion and just change it from 6 to 4,
You want a 4?
please.
All right, move to approve a Class 2 used car license for up to 4 used cars to Scituate Shell at 141 Front Street, Scituate, Mass.
Second?
Second by Mr. Harris. Further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous.
Thank you.
Good luck.
luck.
Thank you for your help. Like I said, if there's any problem, come down and see Junior.
All right.
Be my guest.
We send you insurance check every weekend.
Thank you. Was that the workman's comp or the garage keeper's
It was
license?
the
was
workers'
comp.
comp.
It was the comp? Okay, I'll make sure we call tomorrow.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Next, we have Kevin Cafferty from the DPW on a variety of things. Sean McCarthy. First, we have the discussion vote on Tilden Trail land purchase.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. As you know, the Tilden Trail property line issue at the Turner Road intersection has been discussed since the project's inception. We've been working with National Grid, the Massachusetts Electric Company, since the start to obtain an easement for the trail. This completes the trail from Beaver Dam to Turner Road, which links to another sidewalk that'll follow Tilden up to the Wampatuck School.
Okay.
So
It's been going on a while, this easement, huh?
it has. Last December, we started discussions.
Right.
It was difficult to deal with the real estate department, but we've managed to come to an agreement. Town council has reviewed the purchase and sale agreement. What it will do is provide a 6-foot strip along Tilden Road to construct the pathway to complete it. If we didn't have this, the trail would stop approximately 500 feet short. So it would end at Shadwell or Willow Circle.
Okay.
So you'd have a new trail with no end.
Right.
Sean, are the structures set back far enough?
On this piece of property,
Right.
yes, there's a substation.
Right, yeah, and that
Located
stuff's
on
so
this
you can,
corner.
all right, okay.
Correct,
so- all
yeah.
right.
Yep, so it was an adjustment of the stone wall that, Tilden Road is a variable width layout.
Okay.
There isn't a 40-foot width of the roadway. It varies from property to property.
Okay.
And here, the stone wall encroached on the
Okay,
pavement.
so just hit, you have to
So
move
we-
the wall back.
Yeah, correct.
So we're going to pay them $1,500 for, pay National Grid for that land?
Correct. Approximately 1,126 square feet. It's about 170 feet of frontage along Tilden for that. When I compared that with the assessed value, for the total property, the assessed value is $7.60 a square foot. The 1,500 converts to $1.33 square foot.
Good negotiating.
I offered them $10, and they laughed at me. So I think the price is nominal. There is money in the CPC budget from the beginning to make this purchase.
Okay.
So are the poles completely off the land?
Are there poles?
There's some, they haven't completed the project yet. There are some areas, I am dealing with National Grid as well on Tilden Road as I am on Country Way as well, to resolve some of those pole issues. There's a couple of guy wires that are still out there. Contractors have been reaching out to them as well, and now they're involving me, push them a little harder, resolve these issues.
Do we have to do anything else? Other than pay them the money? Do we have to do any,
No,
Just finish it.
would have to move the
Finish
walls or do anything for their property?
that's all part of the project. Yep, no, nothing additional than what was proposed in the original construction package of the trail.
Okay. Everybody good?
Yeah,
Do I have a motion?
as soon as I can find it.
Move that the Board of Selectmen purchase 1,126 square feet of land along Tilden Road for the construction of Tilden Trail from the Massachusetts Electric Company, otherwise known as National Grid, for the sum of $1,500.00.
Second?
Second by Mr. Harris. Do we have any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous.
Thank you.
Next, we have a discussion on the sewer master plan, the next phase. Mr. Cafferty.
Thank you. What I was going to do is kind of give the board just an update where we are with the sewer treatment plant, just like I did back in January. As you know, the plant's permitted for 1.6 million gallons a day with a max peak flow of 4.36. By the way, everybody knows Rick, the acting superintendent. I brought him in case there's any highly technical questions that we need his expertise on. We've completed the replacement of the bearing of the motor assembly and clarifier number 2, which are those big circular things that you guys, a couple of you saw when you went out on the... So out of the 3 of them, they're all in that time frame where they're going. We did have one die on us last year. That one's replaced, which is number 1. Number 2, we just completed that, and number 3 will be completed. It's in this year's capital plan. If the funding comes through, we'll repair that one also. Chain pump station is going over a major rebuild. If you've been down Hadley Road, you've seen the fence. The fence is up. What we're actually doing is we're diverting the flows starting tomorrow. So what we'll do is we'll take the old pump station completely out of place. We've got a couple orange pumps that are set up there. They're Godwin pumps. They're actually very quiet, and they will be handling the flows and keeping them out of the station while the work's being replaced. When you see the station, it'll look the same. It's the same old building and everything else. Everything that's gone on is underground. And it's been, with engineering and sewer, it's a huge project. It doesn't sound like much, but we're transferring all those flows into a temporary bypass and changing them all around. So it's kind of a big and exciting project. So we're thrilled to get it going. People aren't going to see much, but it's all on the ground. It'll be a big improvement. We had a lot of problems over there.
How long? How long will it take?
We're hoping to have it mostly done by mid-January, a lot of the
that
work
long?
and everything else. Yes.
Couple months.
There'll be,
So those pumps will work fine for 2 months?
yes. There's one pump that's set up to handle all the flows, and then there's a backup pump also. Plus, there's a whole electronic system with warnings if anything does go wrong. So hopefully it's all foolproof. Sand Hills Pump Station is being updated also. We have the new generators installed as part of the upgrade plan. Of Chain Pond, we're also adding an automated sluice gate to that, an additional drive pump, remote operations capacity through SCADA so that we can monitor the system better through our SCADA system, which gives communications from the treatment plant to the pump station itself, which is handy because if you've ever seen that area flood, sometimes we don't know what's going on in there unless the guys go out in the boat. I was just going to go over the town's capacities, 1.6 million gallons per day. Phase 4 is 0.14, Phase 5 is 0.15, and Phase 6 is 0.13, which is 0.42. That's why we're limited with our 80% by our NEPDES permit to the 1.28, and out of that, the 0.42 is for those future phases, which is what we'd talk about in the master plan. Our current flow
So
rate...
wait, can I ask you a question?
Yes.
I'm sorry. So these different phases, this is the additional millions per, whatever, MGD gallons per day
Yep.
that would be added per phase?
Correct.
Okay, good. Okay.
So that's how they arrived at that 80% number. And the phases, I have the plan over there. The one in yellow is already completed, that's Musquashka Pond. This is the Front Street area. This is Phase 5, and this is Phase 6 for the different
Where, I
phases.
can't see it, Kevin.
I'll look at it later, yeah.
So, phases 4, 5, and 6 can be done,
Yes.
and we're at 1.6 then.
And then that brings us to the 1.6.
How'd you figure the phases? Did you figure the phases as the structures, homes, apartments, whatever they are?
That was done-
built? Or did you, when you went by a potential development, did you add those gallons?
This was as-built years ago. This is in part of the Scituate master plan, back around when they did the
So the
cliffs, they came
structures
up
are the
with this
standard.
plan.
So this is pretty important. These will get done if nothing else is built.
Well, that's what you're saying. So,
These could get done. These could, according to these figures.
not 6.
No, we're, one of, the- and if I can explain, just, once we go up to the 1.28, we're bound by permit where we can't go any further.
Oh, all right,
And
that's what I just
one of the
said.
big things that I was going to get into...
You can only go to 80% of your permit.
Right.
Right, we can't exceed the 80% of our permit. One of the big issues we do have is the inflow and infiltration that we
Aye,
have
aye,
in the
right.
town system. And we've got .45 million gallons per day coming in through inflow and infiltration through the pipe system. We just did a project. We were out, I think in January, we were before the board about awarding a project, an I&I project to an engineering firm. And one of the things that we did do is we went out and we put flow meters in a bunch of the different manholes all throughout town, and kind of tracked down the areas of where we're getting some of our biggest, I don't want to say hit, but some of our biggest inflow and infiltration, and what some of the easiest ways would be to try to eliminate some of that. One of the areas on that list was the Cedar Point area, where on an average day, they're getting .04 million gallons per day in inflow and infiltration, which is a significant number.
.04, so 40,000?
40,000 additional. So it's 10% of our inflow and infiltration.
So, Sean,
It's right on the second
yeah,
page.
so you can speak to, I mean, we've been doing I&I for...
I thought we did Lighthouse Point, long before you got
They
here,
did cleaning
Kevin.
and lining on it. What it is the actual sewer pipes themselves are down about 17 feet.
Mm-hmm.
And they're older pipes, I believe they were put in the 70s, in their clay pipe.
Put in the 70s,
1970s, yes.
right.
Early 1970s.
Because I remember Rick Agnew and Anthony Antonello talking about those were the hardest hit areas. That's where we were getting most of our intrusion of salt water.
Well, during a storm, when we get storm events,
Right.
we found we can get 185,000 gallons per day. And that drives up our ratio also.
Yeah.
So, one of the things that we're putting in the capital project plan is maybe redo that area with a pressurized system. Kind of improve that area.
What does that
Some of
mean?
flow.
What does that mean with a pressurized system?
Pump instead of gravity.
Well, what you do, instead of gravity, you'd have the E1 systems, which are, it's a pump, and then it goes out to the pipe and then carries over, as opposed to being really, really deep. So you wouldn't have to be
So you'd redo
17
the whole
feet
area?
deep. You'd have to redo the whole area.
Because we've been doing I&I for the 15 years that I've been doing this.
No, 20.
Yeah, it's longer. And we've seen this 500,000 gallons a day hasn't gone down at all.
Well, that's why we kind of looked out of the box, and looked for some different ideas of what we could do potentially with that, through that plan that we recently did with the flow meters.
Yeah.
Kevin-
Not you, because
Yeah, right, it was-
like
it was
Sean said, this is
way
way
before
before you. We just haven't made any progress. I mean, it's shocking when almost 50% of the water we treat isn't even wastewater. It's seawater or whatever.
Correct.
I don't know, Rick, what is it?
Stormwater.
Groundwater, seawater?
All of the above.
Right.
In this area in particular, it's seawater.
But that's only 10% of it. Where's the other 90%? If the coastline isn't,
It's, as we talk about, it's death by 1,000 paper cuts. There's all little areas, little service lines where we have leaks. We were looking at sewer, see if anybody had pumps that were going into the sewer system. It's multiple millions, tons of sources. And one of the things we found out in some of these areas, when we clean and line them, you may clean and line the line, and what you're doing is you're putting a new concrete face inside the pipe. and you fix a couple leaks, but the leaks travel down the pipe and they come up in another location. So you're constantly chasing the leaks. It's extremely difficult to chase down.
How much do you think that costs us a year to process 500,000 gallons?
I'll look to
Day.
Rick on this one.
Of I&I?
I don't need the answer today.
To a number.
No, but at some point in time, we've got to make a decision as to whether we keep spending,
Well, what's the average per gallon treated? I mean, there's got to be a number for that,
it may
right?
not be you.
Off the top of my head, I couldn't tell you, but we can get that number for you. That's not a problem. So, so that's where we are with that.
Well, I think Sean was going, so what does that mean in terms of these phases? So we have no capacity to go to the next phase, or we do?
No, we do. That phase is a guarantee.
Which
That's
one?
what- All three of them.
4, 5, and 6?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, this wasn't 3, this is 4, 5, and 6, so
4,
that's...
5, and 6, which are,
that's-
you have North Situate, you've got the front, Front Street area, and then you've got the Glades area down over in there.
And that's if the
Third
I&I
phase.
stays the same as it is here today?
Correct. The way it stands now, yes.
Okay.
So how
Unless
many
it all of a
gallons are
sudden
we
gets really
doing a day
aggressive.
now? About 1 million?
We're doing about
1.5.
Actually, I can tell you exactly. We get into our rolling averages. In 2014, we did 1.305, which we exceeded our 1.28 million gallons per day, which we had to write a letter to the
there it is.
DEP and explain what was going on. 2015, we averaged 1.2.
On page 2.
So far, our rolling average is 1.252 for our, where we are this year,
1.252?
1.252.
So how can we add to it if we're over the 80%?
We can go up to 1.28 for our total quantity.
1.28, okay.
1.28 is our total quantity, and then we can't go any further. But that added capacity is built in there.
I'll just say current, you say current flow rate, but that includes adding the capacity of these phases already in there, right?
I'm sorry.
With 4, 5, and 6, where does that put us at?
That would put us towards the 100%.
Right, so we're at 1, 2
20%
something
is
now, it's
reserved,
going
the
to go up.
20% is reserved for these three
I
phases
got
by our
you.
NEPD's
Okay.
permit.
Okay.
Is that,
That's, okay.
Well, our current flow doesn't include that, the .42 that you said,
Correct, this is for, the 1.252 is what we currently are.
1.2, say that again, 1.2?
252?
That doesn't include the .42 that you want to add.
Correct. That's why they limit us at the 80%.
So that's going to put us at 294.
When were those calculations last done on the capacity for the
Where
other
is it?
phases?
Right, the second page, Tony.
Are
Spelled
you
right
using
out.
what was in the original master plan?
Near the top.
So that's not contemplating any of the houses that have been built
Right up near
in
the
those
top, Tony?
areas for
Yeah.
the last 15 years?
We can
Correct.
update that. Correct.
But you do list the number of sewer connections you have, which is a current number.
Correct.
I'm just, when was the sewer master plan done? 2000?
I believe it was 2,000, yes.
So you're using those phase numbers based on house population 16 years ago, as opposed to what the populations of new construction might be now. You see what I'm saying?
Correct.
The beginning.
And then I see you figured in the projection of the active building projects we have now that Laura estimated, I think, as an additional 600 units.
Correct.
So my question is that it looks like we can do a couple of phases, but I don't know if we could do all of them unless we had a better update of the new housing units that have been added since 2000. Because that's taking additional capacity.
But we've accomplished something in I&I, I'd like to think, to your point, Tricia. Yeah, we've added some.
Capture something back.
Right.
If it's it might be a wash, I don't know.
And that's what we've heard from certain,
But we can
from-
easily get from building how many new housing developments we've had.
We could update that.
I think I'm just misunderstanding this. So our capacity is 1.6,
Correct.
but we can't go above 80% of that.
No, with any new connections, we can't go above the 80% because they reserve in our permit, and correct me if I'm wrong, that 20% is reserved in our permit for the other three sewer phases.
Right.
Okay, so you can go up to 1.6.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I thought we could never go above 80.
No, so the sewer master plan figures that
Changes.
everything will be fully built up. So that contemplates, that's the total usage with all those phases built up. So their permit allows them only to operate annually over to a certain amount, because they never want you to get to a point where you can never build those extra phases.
So we can do I mean, I know you can't get up to 100%. Can't we do 1.8 or something? And the 1.6 is there's a buffer between that?
1.6 is the total volume permitted for the system.
That can
And you
come
can do
through the
100%?
treatment plant.
They let you do up to 100% of that?
Well, where we might have some issues is due to the amount of I&I that we have in the permitting phase. They may request, before they allow us to do another phase, is to do more I&I, to do something. What are we doing to try to handle these problems? And that's why we were looking at, like, the Cedar Point area. If we went over, we could explain that we're replacing the sewer system and eliminating. With the plan or the study that we had, we could show we were eliminating I&I flow from certain areas and using that plan in good faith.
So they let you go up to the full 1.6? If we put all this in and it all equals 1.6, we can do 1.6?
The permitted amount is 1.6, yes.
But the capacity of the plant is higher than that, obviously.
It's over-designed, yes, to handle more for storm events.
So are you saying, just to back up a little bit, are you saying that we should stay with those current phases, the three of you? Do you feel, 4, 5, and 6? And I forget what order you said, we're going to do them in, because I thought there was discussion we might revisit it, back in 2000, when they had laid out the first 9 phases at the high school and the cafeteria. We've done the first 3 or 4, so are we going to regroup, or are we going to continue with those phases? What
I
are your
think we
thoughts?
decided we're going to regroup.
You are the sewer, you guys are in charge of the sewer. If you guys decide to do it, we can rephase it, and we'll contact the DEP and EPA and go over that with them.
So we have basically .42 of capacity to do in whatever order we want to do them, or whatever spaces.
We would have to get approval through the DEP and the EPA.
And the next 3 are North Scituate, the Glades.
And you've got Front Street. Front Street's the next one on the list, that Front Street
The pink-
area.
The tree street
Right.
behind, right.
Right, and one of the
Behind
things,
Hazel.
just to go
What's
back.
the yellow, was that
Patricia,
Hadley? We already did that?
A lot of that area, some of that area is
That's
already
Man Hill,
been
1A.
in that front, the Front
Yes.
Street area. like
Oh, if they had a
that.
connection, yeah.
There's already been a lot of, temporary connections, so when I was thinking about it, I kind of thought that counted some of it, because there's a lot of areas, that have just tied in for different
What are the
reasons
pink?
they've been allowed to.
That's North Scituate. What are the other 2 pinks?
You also have down around Hollitt Street, it goes up Hollitt Street and would go into Sealand and a couple of the other streets up there.
That's 3, 8, and 10.
You mean Sedgwick?
Sedgwick, I'm sorry.
Oh, going down to Hollitt by Hollitt.
So was Tony correct in that order? North Scituate, Glades, you said Tree Streets are
No,
next.
the Tree Streets are next, and then it
Okay.
would go to North Scituate, and then it would go to the Glades area in the long term.
Okay.
And North Scituate also includes Hollitt, up over Country Way, up into the other side of it?
Parts of that.
That's 3A. What, is that 3A? No, that's Country.
It's actually Country Way.
That's Country. The pink. Yeah, so that,
Solid coming down.
yeah.
So what do you
Country Way,
consider,
that one?
This one.
Yeah.
so Sean, what are you considering on the Glades? Just in the mustard color?
The yellow, orange.
The orange,
Okay.
so it'll be everything to the left of Gannett,
Right.
because they just picked up everything to the right with that last phase.
I don't know how you guys feel, but I was talking to Tricia about this a couple of weeks ago, and I really feel that we need to continue with these phases, because we've all sat here and we've all listened to, we've all seen developments get developed and get tied into town sewer. And we can't really say no, because they appeal our decision, and then they can tie in, and we might not even get sewer connections. And meanwhile, some people are kind of limping along, and, well, they're not doing Title V's because they've been in their house for a long time. So I'd really like to see, and this really is an area for a much larger discussion, but continue on. And I think we have to balance it with, streets that, we're doing water projects and we're getting really tired of the bumpy roads and stuff, but, we really need to look at this, I think, Then we reach our capacity or near it, and then, the development comes in. We all might like the development, but, if there isn't sewer capacity for it, well, you're gonna have to figure that out. The developer will have to figure it out.
Well, I think we should talk about the order of things. I mean, I think that's kind of...
And you guys say that's up to us, but what do we know? That's for you guys to decide.
You know it all, Sean. I'm a little concerned.
We do. It depends who we're talking to.
So what Kevin is suggesting before you do a next phase, though, however, is to expend $2.5 million to improve the Cedar Point area I&I. So that, even if you decided tonight you wanted to do whatever the next phase is, you're still a couple of years out if you support that recommendation to do that first.
Right.
You gotta convince me, though, that the lines, if we put new lines in Cedar Point, Lighthouse and Rebecca, that they have to last longer than, if it's a force line, is it the same as a gravity line, the ductile, the stuff
No,
you see on the side of the
you
road?
know, if you want, Sean, I have a video, because after we did this report and I got the results, I was a little horrified that we were taking in that much water from that area, especially when I saw the 185,000 gallons in a storm event. Now, that wasn't a big storm event like, we have Juno coming or something like that. That was a heavy rain and some high seas and a high tide, and we were getting 185,000 gallons. So what I asked Rick to do is we went out and we actually videotaped those sewer lines, and I saw the condition of them. And I'll gladly, if you want to come in, I'll show you the video of them, and you can take a look at them. They're old clay pipes that were lined. Some of the clay line is falling apart. It's falling into the pipe. And it's not a pretty sight. I mean, there's a lot of...
This is Cedar Point you're referring?
Cedar Point,
So
yes.
they were relined, as you said, it's just that they haven't held
I
up.
remember seeing them lined. I went in the truck and they showed me the video
Yep,
of them
they have the
lined
video.
Beaver Dam Road by the tracks.
Right.
I sat in the truck and watched it,
Yeah.
and,
It's interesting, but that area, I think it's so deep, 17 feet, and with the water coming up so high, especially even going over the road, it's really, the groundwater is really being problematic over there.
Right.
$2.5 million is what it's going to take
An estimate, yes.
to redo that area,
Replace it.
replace it all.
Replace it. We would be getting rid of those lines altogether.
Just along that circle or any further? Just
Along that circle.
It's all coming from there, huh? Wow.
Well, that .04, I mean, we
Yeah.
still have, that's 10% of what our I&I is.
Right. No, I know. I just meant...
And it
Didn't
could
we
be,
just dig those roads up
could
recently?
be coming from services.
Yeah,
We did put
kills
water
me.
lines in, yes.
And we've resurfaced from one side to the other?
No, we resurfaced where the water lines were, the
trench.
trench.
They did the
on that
trench.
particular road.
Yeah.
All right.
We try to do the best we can when we're picking the roads out, what to do. I mean, obviously, our roads are in rough shape, and we do need to.
How are we going to pay for it? How are we going to pay for it? Where are we going to get the $2.5 million? Through capital? Is that a capital
It's a
expenditure?
capital
He submitted
submission,
it
right?
as
He
an
submitted to capital?
FY18 capital item.
Okay, so don't we have like an ongoing I&I? Haven't we put like 400 grand a year?
About 50,000 a year.
Just 50?
Oh, it used to be higher than that, I thought.
Used to be a lot higher than that.
At one point, I
used
think it
to
was
be-
200,000.
It was
Yeah.
back in 2009, 2010, but then we got jammed up in terms of actually being able to spend that amount of money. So over the last 3 years, it's been about 50,000 a year.
That we've allocated or that we've spent?
That we've allocated, we've spent some of the money. The Chain Pond Pump Station was a source of I&I, it was leaking, so we did a capital plan for that, and we used some I&I money for the investigation, some of the design work for the bid work.
Do we know how much approximately we've put in?
Over the last, well, since I've been here, I would say it's probably on the order of 750,000.
And of course, we've used some,
Yep, we've done a lot of, we've done some lining of some of the services, we've done the whole investigation for some pumps, and we've done some work on it, on the I&I, trying to eliminate that. Flow metering project, excuse me.
So is there any way we can get some sort of return on investment analysis? Like, how much does it cost us to process? That's
Sure.
I mean, we talked about that initially. I think that it may be a no-brainer. You may say, look, Tony, it costs you 200 grand a year just to process this water.
Yeah, we can put something
But
together.
I don't think I think that's a separate question than what Sean was going to with the phases, because the phases pay for themselves,
Correct.
so I think,
But
I think,
I have a question on that, though. Oh, go ahead.
No, that's all right, go ahead.
When you say Front Street, tree streets, is it both?
they're on the tree streets now.
No, I know, so.
West of
It's
Hazel.
behind Hazel.
Okay,
and
so
some of
it's
those
not
other
the
areas.
business area?
No, it's not the
Okay,
business
so
area. The business
that's
area already
what
is.
I wanted to talk
Right.
about.
Yeah.
Okay,
But I think we need to seriously talk about North Situate,
I do too, that's why I brought that up.
right away. There's no reason not to.
Would DEP allow us to do that with the...
To adjust the phase?
We
Well-
could present it to them, and we're going to have two obstacles. The two major obstacles is they're going to say, what are you doing about your I&I? You have 0.45 million gallons per day coming into your system. How are you addressing that? That's why I suggested the Cedar Point project. We could bring it before them because there was a whole initiative with the Cohasset problems in Cohasset Harbor. The other thing that would work in our favor, doing North Scituate, because that would improve, that's a watershed to Cohasset Harbor. So that would be an improvement, and that would go in our favor also, if we
They
did do
did
that.
studies in the marsh on Gannett Road about just that very thing.
Yep.
So could we move to the North Situate phase without doing the I&I initially? Just to that phase?
We could present it to the DEP and the EPA, and if they accepted it, they could accept it.
And those are positive points you're bringing up. Cohasset's watershed and all that helps us.
Correct.
That's what I'd like to see.
And we can go in any order we want, right? I mean, the tree street, that's small, isn't it? The amount that we have left in the tree streets?
I know some of the streets have been tied in, but as I said, Rick and I would have to probably go in and meet with DEP and EPA and just see what type of guidelines or what permitting is involved if we change the master plan. I haven't done that yet, so I'm not exactly sure what it'll entail.
Well, the North Situate capacity, it's much larger, obviously, in North Situate, I would imagine, right?
The mixed use.
That's what I was thinking, yeah.
It's pretty close, 1.13, 1.15, 1.14.
I think you have to take into account, if you do it in North Situate, the capacity is going to go up because people are going to develop more than what's there now. So,
And that's one of the things we'd address when we did this plan. We would oversize some of the pipes in the pump station for the reasoning. When they did the Greenbush project, they didn't oversize the pipes for future development. It's basically if you had a certain street that went down, that's the size of the pipe that you had. They went exactly what they needed.
yeah, I was talking more about capacity, though, because if we think that that's a 1.3 usage, it may
might be
be
higher.
2.6.
Because once people get on sewer, they may go larger and things like that.
And as Tricia said, this was done back in 16 years ago.
Correct.
We should look at that.
Well, back to the I&I equation, which is 40,000 gallons,
So those are the issues that we've been looking at. One of the big issues that we wanted to just go over before we did jump into another phase, it would be something if we did, I believe we have some funds available for design, it would be something we could look, if that's what the board decided, to head towards North Scituate. We could start doing preliminary investigation, maybe even design work. One of the things that we do want to do is we need that third clarifier rebuilt, the bearing and everything else. That's an FY18 also, but that's integral to the system, and we got to get the aeration tanks all cleaned up also, which we're working on, and we're making the improvements as we go.
So a lot of the things that you're talking about, Sean might understand, but I have a little trouble. Does any of the stuff you're referring to, does any of that help our capacity at all?
No.
No, okay.
Just
I figured, I thought it was an answer of no, but. What about a pre-treatment, as we had talked about, like a pre-treatment? Does that help you, Rick?
Another plant?
Like, it was a pre-treatment, well, remember down on, we had talked about it on Hadley Road, there might be a pre-treatment. What does that do to help us?
That wouldn't add capacity to the plant.
Okay, so how does it, without a long story, but the pre-treatment, so it pre-treats everything, and then does it not go through the plant, or is it still,
No, it would still get processed in the plant because it would end up in the same outfall.
so it doesn't really help us, right?
Unless you did a direct discharge in a totally new plant.
Correct.
Okay. All right.
So our action steps from here are to get
Some numbers.
the numbers for processing, and talk to the DEP about what it would take to switch the plans and look at North Situate first?
We can
They
do
were-
that.
They were pretty adamant that we do the Musquashkett Pond area, weren't they, Kevin?
They were,
So, I mean,
because the
they-
pond
they,
was-
You know, and like you guys said earlier, you know, if it cleans up Cohasset Harbor, they did Musquashkett because of the beach and the pond, so.
We've kind of set off the cuff if we did switch things around and did North Situate, would it be an issue? And it, I hope not. I don't think so, if that's the route
Okay.
I want to go.
All right. You good with that discussion?
I think so.
Kevin, can you just mention the copper issue before you get
That was
off
my
sewer?
next step before we ended. We still have the infamous copper issue floating around, which is lurking. Basically, and correct me if I get off on my numbers, our old permit from about 18 years ago used to have us at 20 parts per billion. The new current permit that they put out about 18 years ago wanted us to get down to 4 parts per billion of copper in our discharge, of what we discharge into the river. What happens is it goes into a small ditch that then goes to the river, that then goes out. The concern is the copper content could be dangerous to micro life, aquatic life, in the breeding capacities of, I think, shrimp and a couple other issues. So what the DEP, EPA, is forcing us to get down to 4 parts per billion on our copper, which is actually lower than what our drinking water is for the copper value in it. So we have a study going on now. We are going to have to do something with our outfall, one way or another. We're either going to have to add a treatment to the plant, we may have to extend the outfall, we may have to relocate the outfall and do an ocean outfall, or we may have, there was one other option,
Source reduction.
or complete source reduction and trying to eliminate
Treat the
it.
copper before it gets to the treatment plant.
So what are we at?
Right now, our average is about 13 parts per billion. Current limit is 20 parts per billion. That ends November of 2017. New regulations are going to be 4 parts per billion.
It doesn't phase down, it just does that
No,
quick drop?
Drop, yeah.
And what if we don't get there?
Right now,
Shut-
we're working on finding what a solution is going to be, and we're going to be meeting with the DEP.
That's not an option, is what you're saying.
It's not an option, they don't.
They're looking for a solution.
And you said treat it before the plant. Do you just mean treat it before it goes out or before it goes to the plant?
No, because the majority of the copper is coming from drinking water. As Kevin was saying, the limit for drinking water is much higher. The amount of copper that you're allowed to have in drinking water is much higher than it is in
That's crazy.
effluent, which goes out into an estuary. And it's because of, in terms of referring to microbiological activity.
What's the drinking water limit? About?
Top of my head, I do not know.
So we're processing a lot of drinking water then, which is causing is that?
And it could just be naturally occurring in the water, too, the amount of copper that naturally
There's
occurs.
supposed to be some technology where you can, like, electromagnetic size the water, and it pulls that stuff out.
Pulls the metals out.
Yeah. I don't know if you've looked at that. There's,
So the results of this study are going to drive the direction where we're going to head. You know, it's either going to be treatment, outfall relocation, or extension. So those are basically the 3 options. And the treatment would be the effluent or the water coming in.
so Tricia's point is, we're gonna have some large expenses in the future in this department with the capital equipment just for the plant, with this new thing that we're gonna have to put in, and the I&I.
Are you, when is this study going out? When do you think you'll get it back for the copper?
We were hoping it may be as early as mid-December, early January, and then we'd present it to the board. We'd have the engineers come in and present it.
So we would know
We
by-
funded it last year, the study.
Oh, okay, good, okay.
So it's
It's
imminent.
underway.
Because you got to get done by 2017.
It's underway. Right
so-
right now, what we're doing is sampling.
Okay.
Sean,
And we met
that doesn't have any impact on that.
We met with the EPA and the DEP. Rick and I went in, what was that, this past summer? And basically, what we said, we met with them, and they're looking for, as a minimum, that we have a plan and a direction going. for
By
them.
that time.
By that time. I mean, at least a plan, because they understand we can't get it all done. But we've put this off for
Well, the last two Nifty cycles in this reference, so at least 10 years.
over 10 years. It's been pushed back and pushed back.
We'll have to see
And they
what the
just said,
results are.
we're not extending it again unless you do something.
Okay.
Get your work cut out for you.
Everybody good?
Um,
Review of the street opening permits?
Thanks,
Thank you, Rick.
Thanks, Rick.
Appreciate the information.
Okay.
Get those numbers and,
Yep,
thank
absolutely.
you. Okay, do we have that one?
I think it's on our tablet here.
Yeah, I already read.
This is just notification that we're closing down the street opening permits.
We do it
like
every
always
year.
do. We do it every year.
Yep.
And we sent a letter out to all the contractors that all street opening permits have to be in by November 15th. And we try to close the roads up as soon as we can. Due to the drought this year, we're taking it by a case-by-case basis. If we do some continuing water work just to finish up, because we weren't able to do everything that we wanted to this year with the drought, so we're going to try to eliminate a couple lines and get them activated and remove a couple lines, probably on like 1st, 2nd, and 3rd in Barker Road. So we'll be doing some work over there, so that might extend a little later, but that'll be a day-by-day basis, and the contractor has agreed to pave every night after he does the work. And that's just the sewer connections, the water, not sewer, water connections from the pipe to the houses that they'll be working on. It's not
Does it look
mainline.
like we're gonna be able to do that now, at this point?
Well, that's what we're looking at and trying to
Okay.
get squared away.
Okay. All right. Easy enough. And then, the big one. Discuss the parking changes in Cole Parkway.
Excellent. That's the easy one, right?
Yeah.
So I'll run a little history here. In July 2014, the MAPC started reviewing this business plan. They started working with some of the businesses down there and coming up with a way to improve Cole Parkway. The plan went through traffic rules multiple times. It went to the Board of Selectmen May 10th, 2016. You guys, everybody voted to approve it. The plan was then posted on the website May 13th. The project was pushed off a little bit. We didn't want to implement it just before Heritage Days or anything else that was going on, so we pushed it off to a little later in the year. We reached out to a lot of the businesses and the Chamber of Commerce at different times. I went out there personally with a laminated copy of the plan and gave it to a lot of the businesses that are about along Cole Parkway. Some of them were very supportive, went into CVS, Frank's, and just basically brought everybody up to speed what we were doing.
They were appreciative.
I think everybody was. Everybody seemed pretty positive. We also put the message boards in last week to start notifying people. As I said, it's been on the website. We had something posted on Facebook and also the town website again that we were going to be doing it the 21st. We have a rain date just in case we have a problem on the 22nd. If for some reason we can't do all the striping, we're going to start some of the pre-striping probably Thursday and into Friday, where we're going to stripe the spots and get everything all set up, and we'll be getting some of the traffic signs up in place, but we'll bag the traffic signs.
So
And
can I stop you right there? Do you
You
mind?
certainly can.
Do you mind, Mr. Chair? I just have a question. Are we doing anything to the surface of the Cole Parkway parking lot before you do all this striping?
No.
Why, did we decide that we're not resurfacing it at all? I mean, because wouldn't that mean we're going to have to go back and restripe it?
We typically stripe every year because the striping fades out.
All right, so it's not a big deal to do that? Okay. Is it going to be on the plan next spring to resurface the whole parking lot?
No.
So all we're doing is striping, that's it?
Identifying the different zones.
Identifying the different zones and additional signage, and we're adding a couple handicap spots and some loading zone spots.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna pick up quite a few parking spots, aren't we, Tony?
We have a couple spots we'll be adding, we'll be striping. We're gonna see how everything works out on that backside.
Right.
And make sure we don't have any issues with flooding or anything to that effect before we push cars all the way back to the very end. I want to make sure, if we did have flooding in there, the cars could still get by or get around it.
Okay.
And, oh, I'm sorry, we've met with the harbor master, that we've worked with the police, and, as I said, the businesses, Chamber of Commerce and everything else, multiple times. And, you know, we're just doing the implementation right now and getting this implemented and making it work.
So one of the things that was noted in the MAP study was that it's difficult to do any kind of enforcement due to the lack of uniformity and standardization. So Chief is going to be able to address that now, once the new signage goes in terms of enforcement. And, that's
1 hour
something-
parking, 2 hour parking.
Yep.
over there.
And the signage should look quite nice. It's going to have the new branding, Scituate, which gave us another delay, as Kevin mentioned. So, we've been talking about this. We started in July of 2014, so it's been a long time coming.
So just so people understand, when you come behind Cole Parkway now, if you come by the bowling alley, you're going to have to go to the right
Yep.
around the loop.
And if they want to
Oh, there, it's
show
over
on the
there, yeah.
TV, we actually have the plan right here. And basically, that road there will turn into a one-way. So when you come in from this entrance here, you'll have to go around here and come out. You can still go all the way into here, but there'll be a sign up here blocking you, and then you'll have to take a right from that location right there. So there'll be a no outlet sign up there, just to make everybody aware of it. And then there's actually a barricade that's right there that'll be set up so you can't go down the lane. It's a barricade that can actually be hit, so nobody gets hurt if they hit it, but it's a type 3 barricade that just prevents traffic from going through there.
Can you see that, Megan? Okay.
And that's
So
in
we-
that general area right
So you cannot go by the harbor master's office, Coast Guard station, and go straight up to Front Street? You're making all traffic turn?
Go ahead towards the mill wharf?
You can go to.
You can just
No,
go straight
you
past
have to
Rio.
turn here. If you come all the way up, you have to go around here to go around. If you
All right, I want to go to Front Street,
Yeah,
right
come all
from
the way
Can I
there.
go
around.
straight up?
And you
Can I go
up.
straight?
Straight, okay, I
All
thought you
right,
said.
I
make a
thought you
right.
said I had to
No, I
turn
said if you
right.
come
Coming
in
this
from,
way.
if you come in from Front Street, you're
Yeah.
gonna have, you either have to go right or take the left there. You're not gonna be able to go
Gotcha.
around that way
Okay.
anymore.
I thought you meant going right the other way, with putting somebody on private property.
Right, that's what I thought, yeah, right. That's what you said, Kevin, I thought.
Yeah, you said there's no
Right.
outlet sign there.
I'm losing my voice from talking
Yeah.
about sewer.
Been
so-
talking a lot.
Too many sewer conversations.
So November 21st, that traffic flow is going to go into place.
Correct. The rain date is if, for some reason, we may have some trouble with the striping, where we're striping Sunday night, we're going to do as much as we can ahead of time. But if there's moisture on the ground, or if it's frost and it's just not functioning, we're pushing it off to the next night, in case there's a problem with that. But that is our plan to execute it on the 21st. We're going to be out there this week, striping parking spaces, getting signs up, getting the one-way signs. We'll bag them and get everything all set, but the actual official kick-in should be the 21st that morning.
Someone's got a question.
I've got several.
Just name and address.
Carl Word, 26 Hughes Road. I find it fascinating that we're talking about this today, because back in May 10th, I did have my hand up, and the chair did not recognize me at the time, but we had come off of 5 high tides back in May, and I was going to question that at that stage of the game. Again today, as was last month and happening again next month, we have high tides that create seawater back in the area that you're looking. I took some pictures this afternoon that if you didn't get a chance to take a look at, in the areas that you guys are looking for traffic flow to go. And,
I got 2 fellas.
Thank you.
okay, this one for you. And I'm sure you probably actually
Thank you.
know where. But, you're expecting people certain times of the month, and different days, questionable how many, to drive through the saltwater. Are you prepared to take responsibility of damage and destruction to people's cars in driving through saltwater? I mean, anybody that's been in town here knows that you don't drive your cars through saltwater without creating huge damage to them. I was glad to hear that you had talked with the merchants, because I've talked with a couple of merchants that really were questioning the future of their businesses with how this route was going to work. And another question that I have is the floats down at Cole Parkway Marina are still in the water that usually come out and go in front of the gazebo there. I will also throw in right now that I think it's very irresponsible of the town to still have those in the water. We're very fortunate that we haven't had weather come through to put them up in Cole Parkway without the crane, which is very capable of happening, especially on the high tides and the breeze coming in tomorrow and everything else. But I don't see, if you put the floats up in along the gazebo area and those parking areas, which they usually are housed, that you're going to have enough room to have traffic go through there and deal with saltwater. And another question that I have is, why are they looking to make that back side of the storefront, the store backs, one way? Is it because of the trucks that are offloading back in there? And could there not be other solutions to a problem? If that's the problem, that, you know, people walking around the trucks as they're offloading, you could have the trucks offload early in the morning when there's not as much pedestrian traffic. You know, that they would have to offload by 8 o'clock before, you know, the business area opens up. Or if there was a truck in the back where people might have pedestrian problems getting over to the parking area, if there was a police officer in the harbor area that could take a half an hour while they're offloading to monitor the situation back in that particular area. I mean, they would be directing traffic if there was an accident. You know, they would be doing that. I can't say that the personnel is available, but I mean, to me, for those short times to disrupt the whole town for...
Do you want to address it, Kevin, or do you want
I can just address, I can address it quickly. This is more, we're just coming more for information on what we're doing in the implementation of it.
Yeah.
This was brought up with traffic rules and the planning board, and the planning board came up with some of the designs with the one-way, I believe. So I'm really not...
Well, there's a whole study. The
was a whole study
MAPC
on
came
it,
in and
so-
did a whole study on how we can make that area more vibrant, get more parking, get more areas channeled so that people aren't parking overnight where they're not supposed to be, and to kind of improve the flow in that whole area.
So what happens on the days that there's high tides back in there?
So, basically, I understand all your questions. What would happen now is, as you come back around, even if the traffic pattern was both ways, you still are limited on how far you can go down. So what you would do is you'd go down closer to, like, basically by the ramp. So you wouldn't come as far down as the, where the docks would be, for instance. So you'd only come halfway down, and that's basically what's happening today anyway. And I want to tell you, Phyllis, I've seen people almost killed, and we can't control what time they load and unload at these businesses. Different trucks come in, they go to business. They can't be all at one person's business and the other person's business at the same time. So as Dunkin' Donuts and CVS and all those people are unloading, I don't want people trying to go around there and people walking out of Dunkin' Donuts. I've seen a few very near misses. And again, this came from the state, the study, we go by what the state says.
I know, but the state doesn't know that that flood's back there.
Well, I think they do, actually. I think they do. And I understand what you're saying, but you still have the ability to stay away from the area that floods and come back down this direction.
Oh, I'm very familiar with the area.
Yeah, I know you
I
are.
mean...
So, I understand all your valid points, but I'm just saying that that's the decision that was made, and so.
So is the town going to assume responsibility for people that...
For the drive into salt water, I would say no. You don't have to drive into salt water, there are other options.
It's like the bottom of 6th and 7th Avenue.
Right.
After a storm. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, common sense tells you not to drive through it. So if DPW could put up sawhorses, you know, there might be people that don't realize it's salt water if they're not from the area, and they drive through it. People park on the ramp, and then the next thing you know, their car goes underwater. So I don't see really any different, you know, if DPW put up sawhorses, like to Marty's point, and there is an alternative where they could come in closer to the islands, you know, that's not underwater. This, one of these, I mean, looks like a small amount of water where this one car is parked, and this is the, we're lucky we don't have any wind.
Right,
The.
that's right, and this was an hour, I took these an hour after high tide. So, I mean, it had gone down a tad, but over at the Coast Guard station, there now, that intersection is usually got water in it.
At the end of the island.
Right.
Right.
I don't know, I just, not that I don't like change, but, and I know that there are people that don't look both ways, but, I mean, for the short time, I just think that it's a lot of extra that doesn't necessarily needs to be done.
Well, Mr. Chairman, may I make a comment?
Sure.
I don't disagree with her concerns, so I think what we can do is just be mindful during these high tides, as DPW is today, to redirect traffic at that time, just like we do today.
Right.
And just assure the residents that that same sort of attention to the tides will be given. Because, I mean, to her point, if we're directing everybody down there, we want to make sure that we move the lane up a little bit.
Right,
during
and
the
if I can
tides.
address that and kind of talk about that also. I get the pointer, so I'm going to use it.
No,
I have to use it.
go for it.
If you came down here, you can also come down, you don't have to go out that way.
That's
You
what
could
I was
also
saying.
come down these side
Those are
points
two-way.
here.
Right.
Those are two-way, so you can go down those sections also to get back out and go around
Right.
if this is flooded in this area here. So you'd be able to go in and out that way with your parking.
Yeah.
You just couldn't turn right. So there's no major changes. The other thing it showed in that plan is extending some of the parking there. We're not doing that yet because we are taking that into consideration, potential flooding. And we're going to see how everything works the first year that it works out, if we
So
can.
you're not striping all the way down to that edge?
We're striping all the way down to the edge where it is now.
Okay.
The original plan showed like
Nothing
another
additional.
4 spots and
Right.
another 6 spots. We're holding off a little bit on that
Because of the flooding, yeah.
in some ways because of the flooding. We're going to see how things work out too with the lane and everything else. We don't want to jam everything in too tight. So we are thinking about that stuff. And we do have horses, and just like any other road, we can put horses up when things flood out. Unfortunately, everything floods out at once, and we don't have enough people to put them all up. But it's something we'd definitely work on. And as I said, this had been vetted before through traffic safety, and it came before the board prior.
Many
This is just
times.
over the
Yeah.
implementation of it. Letting everybody know what's going on.
Okay, thank you. A little behind here. Moving on to,
Wait, is Kevin done? Before you go, Kevin?
Yes.
You know the Elm Street
Island.
Countryway Island there that
Yes.
still has all those cones on it?
Yes.
What is the plan with that?
The plan is on that, we're going to stripe the islands and get everything all striped first of all. We're going to install some additional signage there, some do not enter signs will be up.
Can I make a suggestion?
You certainly can.
I think you can make it, I was talking with someone from the disability, because that's why it's there, for that.
Yes.
That you can make the crossing like a two-way crossing, so that you extend the sidewalk on Elm around that house there, that the sidewalk comes down to the end, and then cross the street to Elm, and then cross over, and just get rid of that thing altogether. It's really, not only has it been an eyesore for about 4 or 5 months, but it's dangerous. People drive over it and hit it, and we talked about this months ago.
So you saying that
distance issue still, though.
if someone came...
We need it because it's the resting point.
That's right. So if they came from Greenbush to Ronnie Shones, have the sidewalk go from Country Way across Elm, have them rest at the
At
corner
Elm,
of Elm
and
and
then
Cudworth,
across.
and then from that corner to the other corner.
Right.
Is that
possible,
acceptable?
Kevin?
I think it is.
The distance would be shorter.
I'm not following it 100%.
I'll go
What
over
I
with
would-
you, but
What I would like to do...
And that would eliminate the island.
What I would like to do, where we're this far along, and we're already in mid-November, we'll stripe it, we'll get everything set up, and, I think we're kind of stuck with it for this winter, but maybe it's something that we can review in the spring and pull that out, if that's the case.
Yeah, I mean, even striped, it's dark down there, it's dangerous.
Well, it's one of the things, we're going to put the new light up top. I have to check with Al and see where that is. They were going to expedite that area to get the light on there.
The lady thinks we have no pull now. We were out there at 8:30 at night, and she brought a flashlight out for us. She thought we were going to get run over. Oh, we'll get a street light out here.
Well, the street light was there, it's not functioning properly, but it is something we're
That's what I
working
mean.
on. Al brought it up with the consultant and or the...
It's not the bulb, it's just, it's not working.
It goes on and off.
If you can look at that and see if you look to see it redirect, instead of going across, it goes, it's almost like 3 stops.
Yep.
I think that...
We can definitely take a look at it. I just don't, I don't think we can pull it off that quick, to have it done December 1st, because I still would want to have it reviewed, make sure we meet all the requirements and everything for handicap
I think it's
accessibility.
still too much distance. I think they're, really?
I don't think it is. Because
I hope it'd be
You're not
great.
going across, you're just doing a street and a street.
You have 2 separate crosswalks instead of one longer one. So they can rest, they can rest at the corner of Elm and Cudworth.
Oh, okay.
So,
We'll look at
anyways,
property
with the snowy streets, I just think people are going to go right into that. I mean, Mike knows, you go by it every day, right?
I wouldn't suggest resting there for too long. Yes, it's, you want to move in a hurry.
Very quick. Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, moving on
evening.
to Widows Walk Golf Course, Nancy.
Do you want to have Kathy, how long is this thing? Thing, tell me.
I'll certainly, if the chair wants to do that, I don't mind stepping back.
Yeah, actually, let's do that. Kathy, we're going to bring you up.
Bringing me up, oh, shit.
Yeah.
Just another thing.
What's that?
It's going to take a while?
Just here to observe.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was, oh, okay.
I just wanted to see what's going on.
She just...
She's like, I don't want to go anywhere. Okay.
Fine, hey, I
Your
thought...
fault.
Just trying to get you home earlier, Kat, that's all.
I know.
We thought you were going to discuss the, anyway, okay. Hi, Nancy.
Hi, good evening, everyone. There's just 2 things on your agenda relevant to the Widows Walk Golf Course. The first one is to make the board aware of the fact that the drought had even farther reaching issues than just the impact on residents and the impact on the town and its capital projects, and the fact that we still are not out of the drought, and that it also impacted Widows Walk, and it very negatively impacted the revenue stream from Widows Walk. So what you have in your packet is some color graphs, and as you can see from them, the revenue stream is fairly consistent with a little bit of wavering. Last year was our best year in 10. This year so far is our worst year in 11. The trend line is well below anything we've seen in the last decade, just because people didn't want to play the course because of the shape that it was in because of the drought. And talking to Bob, the news got around, some people assumed, not residents, but people that came from afar, assumed the course was closed and didn't even bother. So that also hurt the revenue stream.
And the rates were reduced.
So,
To accommodate
Draw people in.
for that drop, yeah.
so they did incur some additional costs as well. They redeveloped their irrigation well at the same time to try to get more out of that, and that was very successful. But that was a little bit more on their expense budget. The Widows Walk is on a spending freeze right now. We're going to recoup as much as possible from their expense lines. That includes the seasonals, because if there isn't any play, you don't need to have seasonal help out there. Also, if you're not having any, the foot traffic coming in, you don't need your merchandise supplies to be, excuse me, now I feel like Kevin. Shouldn't have eaten that oatmeal cookie. You don't need the merchandise supplies in the pro shop to be ramped up. So I have spoken to Bob, spoken to Tricia, and that he is fully aware of the spending freeze that's in place right now. And usually we go on a spending freeze sometime in January or February because we don't know what the spring's going to be. We'll take a look at it again as spring comes and we see what kind of winter we have. If we have a terrible winter and we have a delayed opening like we did 2 years ago, it's going to negatively impact us and we'll have to take some type of remedy at special town meeting. If we have a good spring like we did last year and we open early, we may be able to make up the difference between the spending freeze and the increased revenues. So right now, at this time last year, we were at 46% of our revenue projection. We're at 38%. Wow. So we have a lot of ground to make up. I just want to inform the board that that is going on, let them know what's been put in place to address it. And we do have retained earnings in Widows Walk, so we have somewhere to go if we do need to do some type of an adjustment at a special town meeting.
How much retained earnings?
$70,000.
And what does a winter spending freeze mean?
It means that they don't really spend any money. during the winter, but from this point forward, there isn't to be any expenditure there other than for utilities or some other item that comes up that he would then talk to me and I would talk to Tricia. So we've had they had a break-in at the maintenance facility on the property, and there was some damage to that had to be repaired. In the process, they found out that the fire panel in the maintenance facility was malfunctioning, so they had done some emergency repairs to that. They have ceased doing any further repairs. They've done what had to be done to get the panel working, but any further repairs have been held until the spring, until we can see where we are going forward. I can report to the board that the final payment on Widows Walk Golf Course has been made. It is now free of debt, but we have to get out of this fiscal year before we can enjoy that revenue stream. So this is the last year where we had a debt payment due.
You know, does it make sense to look at some sort of mini solution, desalination type of solution for the golf course like they do down on the Cape Forth? There are a couple of Cape courses that are doing that solution so we can protect our asset there in the next drought that we have. I mean, I don't know what the cost of it is, but...
Since we brought the well on, then we have more than sufficient capability now.
And Bob did tell me he was approached by the DEP to be mindful of what he was doing on the course with the water supply.
So was he restricted
Yeah,
from
so that's my
watering?
point.
They have a water permit as well through the DEP. It's entirely separate. It was just renewed about 2 months ago.
He has his
So he
own
was
separate...
restricted
So
from
they're-
watering also?
Absolutely. Oh, he could only water
Yeah.
the greens for 30 minutes every 48 hours or something like that, or something much, it was very stringent.
Did that go into effect after they put the well online?
No, that was well before.
Okay, so they've got a well online. One of the big things that Rick used to wrestle with all the time was the driving range. It was like the moon, so if we could, irrigate that and get that to grow grass, it was...
I think Bob was telling me that now keep in mind, I'm not a golfer, so the worst hit were the roughs, because they really couldn't do anything to address those. Also, Bob noted that
You've been there,
that
Tony.
Widows Walk was
It was
one of
in
the
bad
first
shape.
golf courses to be kind of approached about watering, and some of the neighboring towns and neighboring private golf courses got along further because we had the drought situation going on, so we were in their attention, whereas some other towns that had higher water supplies or didn't go into a drought as soon as we did, were able to go further into the season. So we were dealing with it from July forward, and that's why you see the revenue was so poor right from the get-go.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, all golf courses were bad, but I just want to make sure that when we have the freeze on expenses, that doesn't necessarily include inventory that you're going to buy to sell things to make money on?
So right now, he has merchandise in the store that he can sell, and that was something that we were wrestling with at the end of last year, that because we opened early, we had to get more money so that he could buy more merchandise to sell. Right now, he's not going to buy anything unless he has an order for the person to buy it. So if someone wants to buy golf clubs for a Christmas gift, he'll place the order, we'll get the revenue in, it'll match.
He does his spring stock in February.
Yeah, I mean, I'm talking, you don't
Yeah, I know
need
what you mean.
clothing, but you need balls and tees and...
Yeah, he does that
You make
usually
money
in
on that stuff.
February.
He'll have enough to run the course, but for right now, we don't want to do any major stocking because the merchandise supply line is one of the major lines. So that alone has got $20,000 plus left in it. So when you're looking at the type of revenue that's off, we just don't want anything to be spent at this time of the year until we know where the spring's going. Hopefully mildly.
I don't think you'll know until...
We won't know
Summer,
until, yeah. We'll know what kind of winter we're having by the time town meeting rolls around. We won't know how much
I mean, it is
we'll
what
be
it
able to
is.
recoup.
We were open in January last year. We usually close, in the end of November. The pro shop stays open through Christmas and then it's done. But with the mild winter, we were open all the way through December. This year, you don't know because it's all dependent on snow.
And they're trying to do some reseeding to try to recoup what died off, but we'll see how that goes as well. Okay, the other item, didn't mean for them to both hit on the same agenda, but it just happened to work out that way, is that the course management contract expires at the end of December. The contract went out 3 years ago to be rebid. The 3 years expires, and now we have 2 one-year options. So this would be the first one-year option that is before the board to decide its pleasure. The current holder of the contract is International Golf Maintenance, and they have held it for some time. They were the successful low bidder at the last bid. Their increase for the 4th year would be 1.5%, so it would go from $489,000, $677 annually to $497,022 annually, about $7,300 increase.
So the question is,
Do you want to move forward with that one-year extension or not?
or put it out to bid again?
Correct.
It'd be my recommendation, we keep with IGM. I think one of the assets we have of the course is the maintenance of it. And since we don't know what's happening in 2 or 3 years, I think even if we went out to bid, if people ask that question, it would be too uncertain, I think, to bring in and do a whole conversion.
And they were the low bidder initially, correct?
Yes, they were, and the last time we went out, we had 3 responses, and they were the low bidder.
And 1.5% for the next year, doesn't seem like a
$7,300,
huge,
yeah.
I agree.
you know, so yeah, we stay with them.
I've heard good things about them, people that golf a lot, that, you know.
Want to have a motion?
Move to extend the contract number 01-01-14G with International Golf Maintenance for the professional golf course maintenance of Widows Walk Golf Course for the calendar year of 2017 for the amount not to exceed $497,022.
Second.
Second by Ms. Curran, further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous.
Thank you.
Thanks, Nancy.
Okay, moving on to old business. We have a discussion and vote, some one-day liquor license, oh no, actually, do I want to discuss the, we're not going to vote the policy tonight.
No,
Yep, please. John's not here anyway, so.
Okay, so the special one-day liquor license policy. Tricia, myself, Michelle, Antonetta, we went through it with a fine-tooth comb to look at it from a more practical perspective. We made a revision to that was in your packet. We looked at it again one more time and passed out to each a draft 3 that you have for review. Our objective is to have this approved at the December meeting. So if you could take a look at it and provide us your final comments.
Do you have,
Meeting.
do you have what you changed from draft 3 to
It
what was
was
on here?
so much.
Minimal? Oh, it was a lot.
That's why we did a different draft.
So there were no, too many red lines to read through?
There was so many red lines, you couldn't even read it. So I
Okay.
said, okay, well, I'm just going to do a new draft.
Okay, all right.
I thought it'd be easier for you.
Yeah.
So if you could just look at draft 3, then we could answer any questions to
My
respond.
one question before you leave is that, are there other surrounding towns that have this type of a policy?
Yes.
Okay, I just was curious.
Many.
that's why it keeps changing.
Yeah, I reviewed
All
probably.
what you thought
So
were the
many
best
towns.
parts
Okay.
from all the other towns and put it in the
All right, so
bowl.
read this.
So, and it would be nice, because then we can have it effective January 1, and then we try to do everything January 1 or July 1.
Yeah.
So then, when people can't remember, they know, they might not remember the year, but they'll know it was a January or July, and that's how we track stuff down.
Okay. That's a lot of work, thank you.
Sure.
It
Nice
seemed
job.
very organized when I read it
Yeah.
last night,
So we're going to
so.
vote in December meeting.
She did a great job on it, it's very comprehensive.
All right, thanks.
Okay. Next, we have a discussion and vote for the date for the annual town meeting.
So we finally have a date for town meeting. It's April 26th. And the moderator is available that date. There's no encumbrances in the school for either that date or the backup date. So
Is that
we're
Tuesday?
looking for the board to vote to set the date for the annual town meeting and special town meeting for April 26th.
Is that a Wednesday?
It is a Wednesday.
And what did we decide was the backup date?
Tuesday.
You did 3 priority dates, the 25th.
Oh, I meant- Oh, okay, so carryover, if it carried over, God forbid. For a second night, yeah.
Yeah.
What's that second night date?
So hold on, that's why
Yeah,
I have my
sorry.
calendar.
The
Is it just
week
that
after
Thursday,
vacation
or-
week.
It's the week after.
Yeah, it's
See
the
the
week
next-
after.
Well, your bylaw says it should move to the subsequent Monday,
Okay,
but we've always just done the second backup Thursday to have it in reserve.
okay.
But hold on, Maura, let me answer your question. April 26th is a Wednesday, so the 27th would be the backup.
Okay,
Yeah.
great.
26, 27?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, would you like a motion?
Please.
Move that the Board of Selectmen set the annual town meeting date for Wednesday, April 26, 2017, right? We have 16.
Right.
Yep.
So, okay.
Second.
Second by Mr. Vignani. Further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, unanimous. Okay, moving on to new business, we have...
Can I
Yep.
say something, now that you voted on that? Can I put a bug in everybody's ear? This needs to be addressed by, I believe, town council, because it's above my level of expertise. Because the state law, Mass General Law, Chapter 39, Section 9A, says that we're supposed to hold the election in either February, March, April, or May, all right? Our town bylaw says that the annual election of officers shall be held on the sixth Saturday following the Monday on which the town meeting is to take place. So assuming we can just, even though it's a Wednesday, we'll go the sixth Saturday. That puts it at June 3rd, which is a Saturday, all right? However, graduation night is June 2nd. This also puts it in June when the Mass General Law says we should be having the election in May.
But didn't we address this?
So, yeah,
already
and
did.
Kathy, I sent
Yeah.
you this. The date of town meeting, regardless of whether we actually hold it or not, does not change the election date. Your
But that
election's
was my
still on the
next
exact thing.
question.
Yep,
So
so
I was hoping
you
that
don't
we-
have to worry about
We can
anything.
keep it on May 20th.
That's right.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, thank you, because this has been during election
Yeah.
time for the general election, I'm going, oh.
So it was probably embedded in one of those multiple emails when we were going back and forth with dates with the moderator.
Yeah.
But when I got it, I also rechecked and reconfirmed again with town council. So it's the date that's set in the bylaw.
Based on the April
Based,
10th.
right, it's not based on when the board, at their discretion, may move it.
That just like.
Yes.
ooh, okay.
Yeah, that was good news to hear as well. So you're good to go.
That got buried in my
Yeah,
early voting.
I can resend it to you if you want, but
See,
it
you
was
could've-
in one of those ones probably
You could have gone
3
home an
weeks
hour ago.
No, this is good.
No.
It's okay. It's.
We haven't seen each other in 2
Yeah,
weeks.
I missed everybody.
She was living at the gym,
Yeah,
so.
I was.
Which,
All
by
right,
the way, thank you.
All right, thank you.
For all your work.
Okay,
Oh.
we have a discussion and a vote on some one-day wine and malt licenses. And I think you've got
List here?
a motion, you've got it.
We have 3.
Yep, should be 3 of them.
Move to approve a one-day wine and malt for a silent chef for a birthday party at the Scituate Maritime Center on 11/19/16 from 6 to 10 p.m.
Second?
Second by Mr. Harris. Further discussion, seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Move to approve a one-day wine and malt for a hospitable hostess for a fundraiser at the Scituate Maritime Center on 12/3/16 from 6 to 10 p.m.
Second?
Second by Mr. Harris. Further discussion, seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Move to approve a one-day wine and malt for the silent chef for a baby shower at the Scituate Maritime Center on 12/11/16 from 12 to 4 p.m.
Second?
Second by Mr. Harris. Further discussion, seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. Now, you can, what's the last date you can really use the Maritime Center? I mean,
December 30th.
doesn't it get kind of chilly in there?
You don't have to use it.
True, but I'm thinking
Wait,
for
when's
a
the last
baby
day?
shower.
December what?
31st.
Oh, is that what, is there an event there?
Yeah, 12/11, but it's for a baby shower.
There's no heat, right?
It's heated.
It has heat, but
It's
the
chilly.
pipes aren't insulated over the winter, so we have to turn the water
Oh,
on.
they're not? Ooh,
Yeah,
tricky.
at 12, that should still be
I didn't
okay.
realize that.
Okay, next we have a discussion and vote of the budget timetable.
So, this, you usually vote much sooner, and when you
Right.
voted, some dates have already passed. We've actually had to hold off on the distribution of the budget documents and the manual to department heads, and when advisory and capital planning do their regular cycle. So, the board's not required to do this, but I have you vote the budget calendar every year so that it has your office's full force and effect for compliance. We've never had an issue, but it's just so everybody buys into the process so we can meet the dates. Nancy and I had two options in doing the timeline because our town meeting now is 2 weeks later. We could have started the whole budget process 2 weeks later, which meant folks would be submitting their budgets to us 2 weeks later, or we could catch it up at the back end. So you sort of have an extra meeting, and advisory has meetings in reserve or capital to get the booklet together, to decide any issues. So we put it on the back end of the board and committee review piece. So for
Oh, that's
department
good. I agree
heads,
with that.
capital budgets were already due last Friday. Operating budgets are due December 2nd, because both of those need to be presented the same time under the charter. Nancy and I have to get the entire capital plan done and put to bed before we segue into the operating budget and get it ready to present to you in January. So December is really, we meet with every single department head, go over their goals and objectives, where they are for this fiscal year projected. We'll have a financial forecast meeting. We propose in here, Tony, 6 o'clock, I think, before the next board meeting on December 6th. We have all the revenue and expense assumptions. That's typically a little late, but since the budgets are due the 2nd, if we can finalize the forecast on the 6th, then it'll still be a little difficult. In a perfect world, we meet a week sooner, because I like to know how much revenue I have when I do the budget. I do the budget blind without exactly knowing how much we have, but it'll be that. So I'll do everybody's budget, and then I'll find out on the 6th how much money we actually have available. Budgets, I have to be level funded in FY18. So any new, expense line items, just aside from steps, all the union contracts expire, except for DPW, which we're bargaining right now. So we have to make an allowance for that, but it is what it is. And, a lot of it is to temper our expenses as we bring the new buildings online. Both of them will be online. All three of them will be online at some point during FY18. So we need to plan for that as well. So we need to really head into some fiscal austerity in some areas.
So,
Are we going to vote?
You just vote a motion to accept the timetable. Do you have a
no,
I think we
I don't
do.
have anything.
Yeah, there's an executive action.
No, I have that, but we don't have a copy of the timetable.
Oh, it's the same one you see every year, just the dates change, but.
Okay, I just wasn't,
Yeah.
it's fine by me. Everybody wants to see it.
It's just, we back it up from April 26th.
Okay,
Okay.
Move to accept the timetable as presented?
second.
Second by Ms. Curran. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. Okay. Moving on to, do we have any correspondence?
Well, we got remote
No, I'm
access.
sorry, yeah. We were going to table the remote access participation to the next meeting, so Mr. Denny, he can weigh in.
Great, can someone just give me a 30-second synopsis of that?
I can. So I asked the chair to put it on the, so the state passed a law that remote access is permissible for boards and committees, meaning that you can dial in. We don't have to provide, there's a copy of the regulation in there. And I've gotten several requests, and I think as we are having difficult time recruiting folks, we got a lot of folks who are remote workforce, if we can give them some sort of opportunity to dial in, Skype in, FaceTime in, whatever they can do during those times in which they're not able to be physically present, I think it's something that we should consider. So
Just for meetings and committees?
Right. And there are regulations and things with regards to taking votes are a little bit different, roll calls instead of just, aye and things like that.
Great,
So
thanks.
that's the 30-second overview.
So I have some addition, I have the CMR and a survey of communities in Massachusetts and policies. I'll have that in your packet for next meeting. I just gave you a brief thing that I emailed yesterday,
Yeah.
so,
That was
Yeah.
since it was only discussion, yeah.
Okay. Do we have any correspondence?
I didn't see any.
One Xfinity letter that I passed out to you tonight.
Oh, is that different than the one I read at the last meeting?
Channel lineup change. or
Oh, it
something?
is? Okay, I thought it was the same
Our
one.
bills are
Okay, let
going
me
out to
read that
channel
then.
lineup.
stand corrected. From Xfinity, dear Chairman and board members of the board, in our effort to keep you informed, we are writing to share with you the following. On December 1st, there will be channel changes. Are we going to post this anywhere?
Xfinity has it posted on their website.
Okay. All right, so there are channel changes. NECN is moving from 810 to 840 for those who like to watch Tim Kelly. WBTS TV HD will be added to channel 810. I don't know, there are a bunch of channels here. Bloomberg TV is changing to channel 844, and Cozy TV is changing to channel 935. No idea what that is.
Oh, what was that one?
Cozy TV.
935?
Yeah.
Changing from what?
It is changing, no, it's it's a new channel.
Is it?
Yeah, new channel, channel 935. And then on December 30th, WWDP TV will move from channel 10 to channel 81. I don't even know what that is.
It's wrestling.
It sounds like it.
Is it? World. WBTS will be added to channel 10. And then starting January 1st, this is important.
Okay.
NBC television network programming will be broadcast on WBTS TV and WBTS TV HD. So that's channel 10. So you can find your favorite NBC television network programming on channel 10 as of January 1st. And then on January 12th, there are a couple of changes.
Go to Infinity.
Yeah,
Website.
and read that, because there are a bunch of changes on some obscure channels.
Nobody's going to remember them anyway.
And that's from Michael
Cozy's
Gallo.
935?
The big one is NBC, January 1st, channel 10. I mean, in my mind, that's probably what people would really want to know. Other than the Cozy channel that Mr. Vagnani would like to know about. So that's all. I don't have any correspondence. That's it, right?
Okay.
I didn't see anything else in the packet.
We have approval of some meeting minutes.
Will the board approve the meeting minutes of November 1st, 2016?
Second?
Second by Mr. Vignani. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, we'll adjourn, sign documents. Good night, folks.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Oh, have a great day.